Alrighty, guys. We started up the live stream here. Let me know if everything is coming through clear. You guys want to say hi in the chat as well? Feel free to. Love to see who's joining in. But today we've got a lot of interesting things we're going to be talking about on the update, so I'm real excited. We'll take a look over price action. We're going to be diving into discussing where we are in the current market cycle, not to mention as well spending a little bit of time talking about what's happening in the short term, longer term, and going through some headlines as well. Binance is looking to offer potentially margin trading with a recent leak through the API. We're going to be talking about a really cool article that I found as well through HackerNoon that talks about building the mindset of a trader, and also some updates on MT Gox or Mt. Gox. So we're going to get started here in a second. Oh, sorry guys, if the title says Sunday. Oh no. Oh geez, I thought I changed that. Alrighty, well, let me go ahead and let me fix that real quick on Restream. Sorry about that. I'll go ahead and fix the title real quick. See, that's the thing. You lose time in crypto when you think it's Sunday. We're gonna go ahead here. I'll just copy the title over, and we'll make it Thursday stream. Alrighty. Appreciate you guys being patient with me on that. It should be updating. Oh man, you guys know I just don't live stream as often as I used to. There's not as much going on in the crypto space, but yeah, I know Eric mentioned BTC is dumping at the moment, and I actually was doing a daily update literally just a few moments ago, and as I was talking about how I was saying how I believe that we're going to go back down and test 3,300 and why we're not holding support on the 100-day, and it gets me bearish. Literally it starts happening, and my ETH chart, which I'll show you on in just a minute, was literally showing ETH collapse through the line of support that I was saying it needed to hold. So anyways, let's go ahead and dive into it, guys. We got lots to discuss today. Appreciate the patience with my technical challenges, but going on to take a look over cryptocurrency markets, there's been a little bit of price action over the past hour, which we'll dive into in just a sec. Crypto markets hand though have been relatively neutral at the moment. Most cryptos are in the red, but not by much, and this is just all coming with the fact that Bitcoin at the moment has not been making any significant price moves. We just got above the 100-day moving average, but haven't been able to hold support across pretty much all major real liquid exchanges. So I want to mention a few things real quick, guys. Today's video is going to be sponsored by TaxBit. TaxBit has been one of our long-term sponsors on the channel, and they have a great tax engine that actually helps simplify things. I just wrote off actually a lot of losses for the year from some of my long-term positions that I've done a little bit of movement around in. So because of that, get to write off some nice losses so that next year I won't have to pay them. So really recommend you guys check them down below. I've got a link in the description where you guys can support the channel. And one quick word, I'm going to be doing a video on the Project Genesis channel in the next few days, talking about some of the concepts for Project Genesis and better explaining them for those of you who are interested. So if you are, go ahead and subscribe over to the channel. It should be under the alternative channels that I have on the sidebar in my channel if you guys would like to check that out. So it'll be out in the next few days. Going on though to continue taking a look at the market overview. As we can see here, we're continuing the uptrend here, definitely slowing down here towards the end of the quarter here in March. If we take a closer look on the past 30 days, again, the dip starting to materialize here, about a $2 billion decline in valuations. Bitcoin dominance still holding support at that same range at 50%. You're really going to need to see a break on that, and if Bitcoin does break below its 100-day moving average and doesn't hold, I'm not going to be so confident that we'll be able to see this break, right? As much as other coins have gained really nicely. Alrighty, so let's go ahead and talk about the short term and the long term of price action. And again, as you all know, it's just my style here. You either like it or you don't. I like to keep things very simple. I'm a naked trader for the most part, not actually naked as we speak, but the one thing that I want to emphasize is the consistency with Bitcoin's price action and the moving averages, similar to what we saw back in 2015, right? The previous bottom in Bitcoin. Now, the things that people tend to look at, they tend to look at NVT, which I have down here, for example, RSI, a lot of things like that. But we can see some very similar activity in the short term to what we've seen in Bitcoin in the past. And I'll emphasize that real quick. So we've got our moving averages here. We've been tethering around with the 100-day, of course, as we already had tethered around with the 50-day multiple times and got a close above it, made it support. But interestingly enough, I want you to take a look at these major price levels here. I want you to keep in mind, you know, around this range, around the 3,100 to 3,300 range as the bottoming range. And I want you to keep 4,200 in mind here for the resistance, all right? And see how it's interacted with the 50-day previously. And as the moving averages have come down, we started to interact at that same price range with the 100-day, okay? So let's go ahead. My chart will load here. There we go. And we're also going to jump over to Bitstamp because we need the extra price action here. So we took a look at those price ranges. And if you come down here and take a look at the previous bottom, this looks very similar, doesn't it? Multiple retests at the 50-day, and then an inevitable close above the 100-day moving average, and then a close lower, back down towards consistent support. The only thing different about this is that in this case, with the newer cycle, we're seeing it spread out over a longer term, right? So I think we're going to repeat it here. I think we're going to come to the 50-day, try to hold it, break down, hit resistance at the 50-day, and come lower back to our support range. No, not $200. This is the older market cycle. In this case, what I think you're going to see is what we've talked about. And if we bring it back here to Coinbase, again, I apologize, I've got my TA spread out against different exchanges due to the fact that I like to look at the volume of Coinbase, one of the more actual liquid exchanges nowadays. The thing is, we can see here that this previous line of resistance, right, that held down price 4 times, I believe is going to become support on the way down to a double bottom or a test of the big even at 3,000. And we could very well get that here, guys. You know, the 50-day is not far away. If we collapse through these moving averages, something that provided nice consistent support on an already bearish market, I mean, that definitely screams a sign to me as a trader that I'm going to wait patiently, and that this market, which is much larger than what it was back in 2015, where it took a very short period of time to get up and a shorter period to get down, this time around took a very long time to get up and is going to have a much longer bottom in this case. So not extremely bearish, but when you're talking in percentages from this range around $4,000 going down to 3,000, right? 20% decline or 25% decline there, right? It's something you want to factor in. So anyways, that's my major point that I want to make across to you guys. Hope that comes through relatively clear. And yeah, that's really where I'm standing on things. Now, I want to take a look at ETH as well. This was something that I think was we had talked about back on a few daily updates ago about how on certain price action that you can find in the market. I'm sorry, guys, if I'm getting a little bit of cuts here. Let me see if I can close out of some of my... actually, I'm just going to do this real quick, get rid of that so we have some more price range here to look at. Taking a look, though, at ETH here. The one thing that I want to emphasize is simply in price. Now, you didn't have to use any crazy indicators to see this, but we could see that we were having a parabolic set of highs here, right? The momentum was picking up much faster, and we broke through that today. So now what I believe is next for ETH is 118, somewhere around this range, 118 to 120, because you can see that if we're taking more of the conservative approach here for the bottom, that this is going to be a nice steady uptrend line of higher lows as we start to take on more risk in the market. It makes sense. ETH is a riskier asset than Bitcoin, and we'll continue to have the same range of resistance until we finally pop up and break out of this ascending triangle. But we weren't able to hold this parabolic movement to the upside because the broader market, i.e. Bitcoin and other altcoins, were not ready yet. So this is how you can naked trade, guys. It's not too overcomplicating, and it's actually quite convenient in some cases. So anyways, that's my major philosophy. I think we're going to continue to zigzag through here, coil the price action, and then break out sometime later this summer. That's where most people are starting to get a little bit of confidence in the crypto market, but who knows? I think this is going to be at least about a 1.5 year bear market, and that would make sense, right? We've had all of 2018, first half of 2019. So, and like XRP as well, actually setting up one of the better patterns for like a breakout. You guys know it's a momentum play. I don't really care too much about it personally, but let me see. I think it's Poloniex here. I might be wrong on the exchange. No, it is right. There we go. So Poloniex has a lot of price action for XRP here. You can see long-term support line on the USD and what appears to be you know, a declining line here that could start to squeeze price. And if we break above there, above 35 cents, I'm going to definitely consider a trade on it personally. So that's what I'm watching for. But again, it could channel through there for quite some time, guys. No need to rush it. So that's it for price action. Let's go ahead and dive in to some very important things across the board. I want to let you all know that our long-term sponsor on Coin Paprika, just launched their new Coins app. I won't be able to use it in the videos and stuff like I do Coin Paprika, but I thought you guys might as well go ahead and check it out. We've got a lot of cool functionality coming in where you can invest and manage all your funds. So just thought I'd share it, just thought I'd let you guys know about it. So going on through a few different headlines, want to share a video that I did yesterday talking about central banks defining markets and the role that they play, but also what they teach us about pretty much every other single market. And I'll go ahead and let you guys know one of the big ticket lessons from it. It's talking about inflows and outflows of capital and how an inflow of money or an outflow of money is going to lead to markets, blowing up bubbles or correcting and hitting recessions of some sort, or bear markets in that case. So really definitely consider watching that video. Seems like people for the most part liked it. Going on though, let's go through the headlines and take a look at some of the important things developing. I think this is actually not only recent news that has come out. It was written by Adrian over at Cointelegraph, but it talked about Binance's API seemingly revealing that there are ongoing developments for margin trading on the exchange. Now, guys, this is a very, very big deal. The reason I'm saying this is because BitMEX as an exchange has had lots of problems in its margin trading. There have been failures to execute orders and people getting liquidated or people canceling orders. I don't mean to talk too negative about the exchange, but there's been a lot of flaws in the exchange, and you can see the evidence. It's pretty wide. I've seen many cases on Twitter where that's been the matter for many people. And this small leak, there's really not too much substance to it. It was basically where there was two spots here on the margin, on the API stated, is spot trading allowed? Well, the second is margin trading allowed in this case. Basically, I think what this is referring to is whether or not a user, when they're giving up their API, is allowing for margin trading, right? Is trading of funds available? Is viewing the balance of a portfolio available? These are things that you tend to find within an API. For example, like on TaxBit, you guys can give certain API access to TaxBit where you say, look, I don't want you to be able to access trading my funds, but I'll let you view my portfolio so you can see my transactions and calculate it, right? So that's how APIs work. You can give partial functionality or full functionality. Now, why is this such a big deal here? It's because Binance is one of the largest, if not the largest, actual liquid exchanges trading volume for probably maybe not Bitcoin, right? Maybe the fiat gateways are probably bigger for that, but for trading altcoins abroad. If they offer margin trading, it is not just going to be a collection of altcoins and established coins like Bitcoin and Ether, but it is going to be the entire market most likely over time, right? They're going to probably offer much more flexibility. If they're already trading these currencies, why the heck not offer margin trading, right? Now, they're Malta, they're loose, they're definitely not really worrying about regulations. I mean, I think they're considering about regulations, but Malta provides them a pretty flexible environment to do these things. So that is going to shift a lot, and it's going to provide some competition for BitMEX to up its game. Not to mention, it's bringing the margin trading onto the platform with real liquidity. So if it attracts some of that capital that's gone over to BitMEX and to Binance, hey, all to them, all right? So interested to see how this is going to play out. I'd like to know what you guys think about it down below in the comments or in the chat. And we'll dive into some questions as well in a little bit. Wanted to refer you guys to this awesome article by an individual named Bodan Kit. I hope that's how you pronounce his name. I apologize. He talked about what I learned losing $139,000 in trading cryptocurrency. And I'll summarize his article through some of the major points here, but I recommend you guys check it out. I'll go ahead and I'll drop the link here in the chat so you guys can use it yourselves. But the major thing that he talked about was learning from his failures. And there's a few major points here. The biggest one that I think is the fact that trading is a numbers game of risk and reward. And it's so fascinating how simple of a concept this is, but so many traders do not use it in their trades. So you guys remember, for example, in my videos, whenever I talk about trading, I talk about almost establishing a red zone and a green zone on my trades, where basically I have my risk that I could potentially lose in a trade and my potential reward. And I always wanted to make sure that my reward heavily outweighed my risk. This is what it's talking about. And this is the slope that you have to consider, the risk to reward ratio of basically, what does my reward need to be on average for a given trade compared to my risk? And also, how many trades do I have to win with that kind of ratio, right? So this is a very awesome chart here. So an example, he has a line on the chart here is a dot that indicates if he has a 2.5 reward to risk ratio, meaning he'll make 2.5 times what he could lose in the trade. All he needs to win to break even is 28% of the time. So if he's getting 40 or 50% of wins, then he's making some good money, right? Anyone can try this. Anyone can use it. It's very simple, predictable math. Trading should become a mechanism for you. And if you find that that mechanism is not working, something's wrong with your trading strategy, right? Another thing with that as well is emotional management. And this really dives into simply, cutting out your emotion. If you guys, get the euphoric kind of rush that, for example, gamblers get when they're at the casino, you need to be docile on that. You need to cut that out of your trading, and you need to come in with strategy to where, look, my trade is already finite. I can't move it around. It's going to execute as it's planned. And again, if that system is failing, then you need to rework on it. Step out of it. Don't put your emotion into it. Don't change things last minute. And this is something as well. Again, there's no good or bad trading strategy. There's an undisciplined execution, right? You should walk in with a plan of action. And this chart is spicy. It's very good. It considers the fact of the risk that you're taking in, how you actually prevent massive losses. You cut your losses short, how you go about, entering into a trade, establishing your entries, not rushing into something, waiting for a price range. If you sometimes don't get it, hey, it shouldn't be seen as a missed opportunity. There's opportunity everywhere in cryptocurrencies and other markets, guys. There will always be ups and downs. But you knew that you were at least disciplined to say, look, I didn't want to take it. It didn't feel like there was enough reward for me at that price range and too much risk. That's a good thing to establish sometimes, and you should be proud of yourself for stepping out of that. Along with that, profits as well. How to actually take profit. Again, it all has to do with walking out with that very simple strategy, guys, not overcomplicating. And then also as well, I think the last point here I'm trying to remember, trading is an evolutionary endeavor. Play iterated games. This is very good. They were basically talking about the factor of compound interest and the fact that, in this case, it's not about making 100 decisions to earn $1 million. It's not a very sexy idea. Well, that's why most traders try to take it. Sometimes it can be a matter of 5 or 10 trades, guys, that are really solid swing trades that can get you to that target that you're looking for. And that's why I swing trade. I don't actively trade as many people in the crypto space do, right? I'm not a hodler, but I find myself in the middle. I like to swing markets. I like to find opportunity elsewhere. And I'm not going to get stuck trying to trade a market that I can't win in because there's no volume. There's excessive amount of trading bots, and they've got much more data and much more discipline than I probably do. So that's why I trade in a time frame that I know I feel comfortable with, and that is very predictable for me. So recommend you guys check out this article. Again, drop the link in the chat. You guys can find it if you probably look it up. What I learned losing 139,000 in trading crypto. But on it, great article. Thank you for the share. And last but not least, on the side of news, I want to talk about the Mt. Gox or Mt. Gox trustee taking final action on creditors' claims. So there's been about 24,000 creditors that are on the line waiting for requests from the exchange to get their money compensated back, as the creditor, in this case, the trustee, is actually taking action. A good example of this that we can take a look at as to whether or not they're approving or disproving people is this guy named Cal Spears, who was an early investor on Mt. Gox back in 2013. And it turns out that after 6 years of waiting, they've finally gotten some word that they're getting some of it back. Now, for the extra details as to what they have available, apparently they have $629 million in cash available for rehabilitation from the trustee, along with 141,686 Bitcoin and 142,000 Bitcoin cash. So it's a lot of money people are going to want back. And it'll be interesting to see if when this Bitcoin and Bitcoin Cash comes back into people's pockets, if they sell it or if they just hold it. If no selling occurs, this actually might be something that has been priced in. And actually, if people don't sell it, it actually might be a boost for markets, right? So we'll have to see when the money starts moving out of the Mt. Gox wallets in this case, and whether or not we start to see it go towards exchange wallets. You can kind of track it on the ledger in that case. So very interesting topic. Alrighty, so we've gone through most of the headlines, guys. I appreciate you guys joining. We see a good few hundred of you guys in here. And we'll go ahead to just kind of close. I'm going to close out of some of this stuff just to make sure the connection's nice and clear for you guys. If you all are curious about the song I'm listening to, it's Sleeping Pandora, and the song is called Spheric. The music video is very trippy, but just found it the other day. It was really good, so I recommend you guys look into it. Again, one more notification if you guys are interested. Definitely subscribe to the Project Genesis channel. We'll be doing that video or live stream later on this week, talking about some of the concepts for Project Genesis. Alrighty. Let's go ahead here and take a look at what you guys have to ask. Crypto Revolution, one of my top altcoins. I don't really, I would love to show you all my favorite altcoins, but to put it lightly, I'm mostly focused in peer-to-peer currencies. I hope that helps in some degree. I definitely like a lot of the privacy coins, going from Monero, also to Dash, which has optional privacy as well. It's been getting real market adoption. Some of the more established names, as I do believe we're going to have consolidation, but also some of the altcoins as well that fit into that category that may be oversold. So still like Nano. What else is there? I'd say Gren as well is one that's interested me. I got a little bit of a position in Gren, and it's more of a long-term play, waiting for more liquidity to come into the system. So it's just a little early, lottery ticket. We'll see if Gren does well and if it can dominate as the Mimblewimble coin. So those are some of the things that I'm looking at the moment. And Beam as well is good, but I haven't been able to build a position on Beam because it's not on any real good liquid exchanges. Marlon, nice to have you in here, man. Hope you're doing well. Thank you very much for leaving a comment. Sorry, guys, I'm getting a little bit, I'm getting late to these comments. I was doing my video, but ICO King, what do you think of Superman's diss video? I saw Superman's video where I think he was lighthearted, like he's just making fun of all the YouTubers. Sure, there was probably some things he got a little bit pushy on, but I don't mind. It's like, I've met Michael in life and stuff, and he's a nice guy, so I thought it was pretty funny. He did, I think he said, he's like, today we've got your daily dose of hopium. I'm like, today I just talked about the market going down, so that's probably where he got one thing wrong, but I hope he's doing well, just as I hope everyone's doing well. Eric Hemming said, Nick pulling a crypto Bobby and dumping the market with the stream. Oh man, that was a good guy. Let's see here. Let's go through some of these comments. Twin Skill guy, if you're a book guy, there's a few good trading books out there, but I'd really recommend you watch through videos, because you can, get some more up-to-date views on how to use these indicators, and it's much more interactive. If you're looking for that, we've got a good trading tip series. You guys can check on the channel if you haven't seen it, but there's a plethora of other great YouTubers out there. If you look up any indicator that you're curious about, you can find a video on it on YouTube. It's really nice. Alrighty. Hey Nick, do you listen to any podcast? If yes, then can you can you recommend a few? Well, I don't want to be obvious. Like Joe Rogan's obviously one of my ones I like to listen to. Me and my friend have been fans of Rogan for a long time. Are there any ones that I used to listen to Chatting with Traders. That was pretty good. For those of you who want to be active traders, man, you'll gain an immense amount of perspective from people who've been in the industry for years. Aaron Fifield, I think is his name, has great interviews on there. All right. Akilish, I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing your name, asked, do you think the crypto market is going to retest the bottom once again? I honestly do. Now, with today's price action, it's even more solidifying towards that. No, actually, let me actually check price here real quick. Wow, we even had a sharper decline from when we last looked at it. But looks like some of that has recovered. Anyways, my major point here would be that I think we're going to break below the 50 and 100 day, which are very tight right now with price. We weren't able to really hold the 100 day and rebound through it. This is going to come back down on this previous line of resistance, which is now going to turn to support and start to ride down and towards either 3100 or towards the even at 3000. Would actually really like it to touch 3000. That would make me extremely confident in the market, because I think that's where we're going to bottom. Homer Bloody Simpson said, should I be offended if Jimmy Song blocked me on Twitter? You probably disagreed with him on what Bitcoin really is. If you mention anything Bitcoin Cash, I can only assume that's the reason he blocked you. Alrighty. The Ace Man from Australia. Nice to have you, man. Alrighty. So yeah, I mean, the to summarize my point there, guys, I think it's very likely we see a bottom, a retest of the bottom, because it's gonna be a long bottoming process, guys. This is a much larger market cycle than beforehand. It's gonna keep getting bigger and bigger every cycle around, but we're talking over the matter of a few decades here. Not in this cycle. I'm not saying that for this cycle. I don't want to scare anyone. I think sometime this summer you could start to see a little bit of an uptick, but not a true escape from the bear market until 2020 or anything like that. Hey Nick, what's your opinion on cost averaging when your last buy is lower than the previous as a long-term strategy? Let me see. That's a good point, Vincent. So you're basically saying, like, if I've dollar cost averaged maybe at, say, $3,100 Bitcoin, and then now I want a dollar cost average and the price may be here, for example, at 3,400. It's higher in that case. Yeah, I mean, so I know people, for example, who don't even want to think about trading. They just want to stack up their Bitcoin in a relatively predictable way. Yeah, there's no problem, in my opinion, with that. You've got to determine it for yourself. I think if you're trying to take that simple approach, if you think Bitcoin in the next 3 or 5 years is going to go massively up, I wouldn't be stressing over, am I going to get a lower level than what I did before? Or, because in that case, if you're anticipating another low coming, right, then, I probably wouldn't continue dollar cost averaging. I'd just wait in that case for what I believe would be the next major price target to retest. So no, I would say that if you're seeing higher lows, that's a sign that markets are getting more resilient. But I also wouldn't fret that if prices went up here and I was dollar cost averaging up that way between, like, say, 3,400 to 4,000, I wouldn't fret if prices came back down to the lows. I would just keep averaging in that case, if that's your strategy, right? Viv, when do you think the great altcoin purge will come? CoinMarketCap still has 2,100 coins. I think eventually, as this market matures, there's going to be such a split between currency valuations, like, years out, and eventually you're going to have a much more refined currency list. It may not even be CoinMarketCap, but it's not going to include all 2,100 coins. But those coins will always exist, Viv. That's the interesting thing. Like, they could go to zero. But unless they really get out of that zone and stuff of being something that's traded, CoinMarketCap will still have them listed, from at least my analysis. Satish asked, hi, how are you? I'm doing good, Satish. Thank you very much for joining in. Janik, few decades. Geez, talk about dark humor. Yes, I didn't mean a few decades for this bottoming process. I meant to say that over time, as we go over the next few decades and have multiple market cycles for crypto, the bottoming as well as the uptrend and the downtrend are going to take much longer, right? Because they're much more substantial moves. Maurice, I definitely think as a speculative trade, I think I'm optimistic on Gren, but we'll have to see. I don't like its inflation. That's my biggest problem with it, is being an investor in Gren. I don't like how it inflates so much. Alrighty. We'll do about 2 more questions here, guys, and I think I'll probably sign off for the day. Did you read the European Central Bank tweet? As a central bank, we can create money to buy assets. Yes, Viv, I actually did see that. Well, Japan's been doing it forever. Specifically, I'm talking about ETFs and stocks. But if you're talking about the broader market of assets, yeah, that's central banks openly admit it. And it's crazy when you can put it out on a public Twitter like that. I think that says a lot about just how little the world knows or cares about how important central banks are. If you guys want to know how impactful they can be, watch my most recent video. I think that's definitely something you should check out. Crypto V, my guess is that we can easily triple on the number of cryptos in the next bull market. Oh, so yeah, I bet you're going to have much more cryptos, guys. I don't think this next cycle is going to lead to a consolidation, as everyone's talked about. So long as anyone can fork off a coin, and we haven't had our .com bubble yet, Lord, I don't even want to know what that's going to look like. Alrighty. Considering the prolonged bear market, do you see do you project a longer bull market? I think we may see a 2 to 3 year bull market coming. Yeah, Marlon, I think that's going to be the case. Again, it just like how the bear markets get more, dragged on. This bull market previously in 2017 was much longer than what it was back in 2013, right? 2013 and 2014. So again, that's my philosophy on it. I don't really see it as it being just for the markets bottoming. It's something that translates overall because you have much more capital that needs to come in to make larger moves as the price increases, and then also much more liquidity to exit as well for the bear market to finally finish. Alrighty. Yeah, that DK guy, I agree. I think Grin just is going to keep on declining until finally you start to get some buying activity at a range where people feel, compared to Bitcoin, it's actually a fair price and that a lot of the inflation's worn off. All right. Which smaller projects do you think are best prepared to survive an extended bear market? The ones that are developing, my friend. There's a lot of different projects out there, but I will be honest in saying that I think the vast majority of them are fitting into two categories. They are ground up open source development, not by an ICO. And along with that as well are ones that are focusing on peer-to-peer currency or money, store value, whatever you want to say. I think those are really the two categories I'm looking for. Yeah, Viv, I would say that I've had one or two disaster stories where people have been sold that like they wanted to buy, Bitcoin, and they bought Bitcoin SV and Bitcoin ABC, but it's really not, I think, much of a worry. I think if you're looking for Bitcoin, you'll be able to find Bitcoin, and exchanges make it pretty clear in that case. But I know some people do complain about the brand, stealing the brand and stuff. It's like, look, it's an open source project, right? There's no trademark on Bitcoin, right? I think some company in the UK tried to do that, and it got, I think, rejected over time. NS, I think Wabi had a rebranding, but I think it's fine. I talked actually to Chef, one of our guys in the community, and he's been very active with the project and communicating with the team, and it seems like so far they're actually doing fine, continuing to build out in the bear market, continuing to, I'm assuming, get partnerships. So, Jonathan, that is not true in the slightest. I'm not, believe me. I get many women, and I love women. I cherish them. I'm not in any way, but I'm completely fine with it if someone is. Let's see. Marlon, it's a good point. Yeah, it's meant more to be as currency. I only see it as a speculative investment for getting more exchange listings and, in that case, liquidity. But along with that, the fact that it's one of the few mimble-wimble currencies with a great open source ecosystem around it, which is good. My pleasure, AZ. Hope I answered your question. Alrighty. Well, guys, we'll do one more question here, and then I think I'm going to sign off for this morning because I got to get a little bit of work done. Alrighty. Robin G. Deers. I'm not going to do my Superman impression. I'll resist from that. Let's see. Michael, nice to see you as well. Thanks for coming on. Andrew, that's a decent question. Any thoughts on market cap predictions for the first half of 2019? Well, 2019. How to do that. All right, let's do total market cap for cryptocurrencies. Shot in the dark here. All right, so we're talking about, your question was the first half of 2019. Well, we're almost to the first half here. If we move generally in this relatively predictable channel here without any parabolic price movement, which I don't think we'll be getting, best case scenario here would be that if we continue through this channel, you'd probably get somewhere around the 150 to 200 billion dollar range by this part of the year. I don't really think that's the case, though. I think you're going to be pushing mostly sideways here for a while. I think we're in the bottoming process. I don't know why it's, there we go. I wasn't going straight for a second. So I think we're going to channel through here, and then towards the later half of 2019, you're going to start to actually move higher. So that's my general prediction on things, but yeah, I don't have a crystal ball. We'll have to see if the momentum can keep up. Alrighty. I think that's going to be it for today, guys. I appreciate the support in coming on. We'll probably do a longer live stream here in the next week or so. But again, lots of interesting things going on in crypto. Again, recommend you guys check out a few things. The video I just did on central banks, if you haven't, and then also subscribe over to the Project Genesis channel here. So see if we got any new subscribers. We got a few new people coming in. So recommend you guys check into that. Stay tuned for that update. But until then, thank you all so much for watching. I hope you all are having a fantastic day, and I'll see you all in the next one. Stay tuned. Obama signing out. Stay cool, my home.